Hello and welcome. I know I'm like super fast. So welcome. I am Rowan Ravenwolf if you are new. And this is my Witchy book club. So this is a safe space, a spiritual safe space, so we can discuss topics and discuss our thoughts, but I do ask for respect to anybody on panel and anybody in chat. And if you are a bot trying to sell stuff, you will be blocked immediately. So welcome. Welcome, Candace. And I saw welcome, Michelle. Let's see, it looks like there's Tandem Dragon, welcome. So welcome. And thank you so much for the hearts. Welcome, Daniel, sorry, misreading. So tonight's discussion, Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Myss. We are doing chapter 2 tonight. If you've read the book and you want to discuss it and want to come up on panel with some points and stuff, great to see you too, Candace. Please, click the request and I will let you up on panel. And feel free if I get talking and there's stuff you want to add, because this book actually is really good. Tonight I am going to talk about a couple things I didn't like in the book, but there's a lot that I do like in the book, and I would love to get multiple opinions. So welcome to everybody. Again, this is The Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Myss. So if this is the first time joining for Witchy Book Club, I am here on Sundays for the discussion. And if you go to Patreon, I do a deep dive for those that don't have the book yet and kind of go into some fun stuff. So you can always follow me on Patreon, and it is one of the links in my bio. So the links in my bio take you to Patreon and to my website. So again, if you want to, even as I'm talking, if you're like, well, I haven't read the book, but you're like, oh, I want to add something, please feel free to jump up. So I'm going to start with like going through just real quick. So this chapter is called Chapter 2, Made in the Image of God. So just so that everybody has an idea, Carolyn Myss, she actually studied theology. She does have a PhD. She is an intuitive, a medical intuitive. So she can diagnose people with their name and their birth date with what's wrong. And she gives quite a few examples in here in this book. So I do want to kind of give that background if this is your first time jumping on for this Witchy Book Club. So yes, Witchy Book Club, I'm going to show it again, Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Myss. Ooh, well, you know what, Chaos, I'll let you jump up, even if you haven't read this. So, because that insight will be so great. So, I'm going to kind of go briefly through some of the things that I think are really important in Chapter 2. And please feel free to, if you've read the book and want to discuss Chapter 2 with us, please jump up. And this is awesome because this is what Chaos does. Yay, Chaos. Chaos, have you read her book?
I don't know. I'm really terrible about reading books that everybody's like, oh, you should read this.
So I'm going to go through the chapters, but why don't you go ahead and explain what a medical intuitive is, so that those who don't know will have, like, since that's what you do.
So the best way for me to explain it is I wear your energy for while I'm doing the reading. So everything you feel that's pertinent, I'm going to feel. A lot of the time, even things that aren't pertinent. So I have to like fish through a little bit. And I'm a CNA, an EMT. I've taken anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology. I spent 20 years in the medical field. So it's educationally based also. But I go through and I use all of my clairs, right? So I also don't, once I get the symptomology down, I don't just act like I know everything. So I go to medical journals. And I'm guided through it all, just like we are with most things. It's no different. My the difference between what you just said and what I do is I give people the tools, the resources to advocate for themselves during their a diagnosis. So people don't get diagnosed because they don't know what to say or how to explain. A lot of people, you may have something wrong with you your whole life and you have no idea it's not normal. So you don't say anything to the doctor about it. So it's just, I can see the neurons in your brain. I work with a lot of people, or not a lot, with a few people with seizures that have seizures and currently don't have seizures anymore after we've worked. That doesn't mean that I tell people not to take their meds or do their things. And it's a rule. If you come to me and I do this, you have to go to the doctor. Otherwise, I won't work with you again. So I don't take the doctor out of it. But yeah, it's a cool thing to be able to wrap my brain around. It's one of my favorite things to do.
That is awesome. Well, I know like this book helped me in my healing process. And just like Chaos just said, any time we are working with crystals, with Reiki, with medical intuition, any of these holistic approaches, you still should go see your medical physician or in any medical doctor. It's really important. Do not rely 100% on us. When we're talking medical intuition, when we're talking working with crystals, with herbs, with Reiki, any other form of energy healing, this is to work in conjunction with modern medicine. So I should throw sound healing out there too. Forgot about sound healing. So you should, yeah, yes. So granted, the holistic and this spiritual approach is going to open a lot of doors, but please seek medical care.
I had somebody that came to me and they had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And this wasn't on TikTok. It was somebody brought them to me and they seen a healer like that did quantum or did Reiki, not quantum, Reiki. And the person told them they were healed and they didn't need to go back for further scanning. And she didn't. She trusted this person, right? Well, a year later, she's coming to me because she's very, very, very sick and had to go have her scans redone. And, like, it's infuriating. It's infuriating to me.
Yeah, see, and I do Reiki on myself, on my family, and on clients, and I'm always like, use this in conjunction with your doctor. And I even make them sign a waiver that they understand that Reiki only works in conjunction with. It's not a fix-all. So yeah, it's sad. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that do think that like, oh, I'll crystal heal you. I'm gonna like use sound therapy and heal you. But yeah, you need to make sure you do both, like the medical, and you can add any of these holistic approaches. But yeah, please be careful.
Good in conjunction. Like, so, even like I have somebody else who has somebody that's in the end of the fight with the big C's, and they had a holistic medication. I can't even remember exactly what the person called themselves, but for the low price of $999, my vitamin and mineral whatever will heal you. And I was like, I mean, if that's what you want to spend your money on, then go right ahead. But come on now, if that were all it was going to be, it would have been a lot easier to find than that one guy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Ooh, yeah, it can get heavy. So yes, I know at least like Carolyn in here, she is consulting with a medical doctor. So that's real. That's one thing to understand. But she does teach us a lot of this is mind over matter, like shifting your mindset. But we're gonna jump into chapter 2 and Chaos. Whenever you want to like jump up, we'll do this. So the second chapter is made in the image of God. So she again is combining the Hindu chakras, the Christian sacraments, and the Kabbalah tree of life. So I'm going to just, there were a couple quotes that I had starred, so I'm going to look for those first. And maybe they were later on. So they must be later on. Okay, so she talks about in this chapter the symbolic power of the 7 chakras. So she's talking, gives you the 7 chakras. So root, sacral, heart. I'm totally out of order. Sorry. Now all of a sudden I'm blanking. Crown.
ADHD.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, what? Like, and I know the chakras like the back of my hand. So, crown, third eye, throat, heart, sacral, solar plexus, and root chakras. So she does give them. She is calling them by first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. She does have her little diagram here, but so I want everybody to keep this in mind. 7 and 7 chakras. All right. So, I mean, well, the book it is for the 7 stages of power and healing. All right. So she goes into the 7 chakras. Nope, I did not mark. Okay. All right. Then she goes into the symbolic power of the Christian sacraments. So I'm going to read these because I was not born Catholic. And these may also be, potentially any Christian offshoot, so, or Catholic offshoot, I guess I could say. So maybe potentially Protestants, Episcopalians, Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. I mean, maybe these are some of the 7 sacraments. I was in a Christian cult, but we didn't talk about 7 sacraments. All right, so the 7 sacraments: baptism, communion, confirmation, marriage, confession, ordination, and extreme uncation. So hopefully I've said that correctly, the last one. It's UNCTION. Okay, so this is the only area that I did not quite agree with. One, because not everybody gets married. So I have an issue with that. I also have always had issues with confessions. In any Christian religion, there's always confession attached. I think that's between you, yourself, and I. That's for you. It's not for you to go and tell somebody you did something. I mean, unless maybe you commit a crime, then you should maybe tell the police. And then the extreme uncation is basically right before unaliving. So we can work with the 7 chakras. We can work with the Kabbalah tree of life, but you're saying that, like, this is where I think there's a little, and it will come a little bit clearer. This is the only issue I have in the book. Again, this is just my opinion. But I did want to at least say my opinion there. And I'll probably bring it up a lot more. And then she gets into the symbolic power of the 10 Sephirat from the Kabbalah tree of life. So here's her diagram. Hopefully everybody can see that. So she's combined, because there's 10, so she's combined 3 sets together, okay? And they do correspond really well with the chakras. So, and I saw a couple people saying, yes, yes, like, and you know what? If you happen to believe in the sacraments and maybe have more input and insight, please feel free to put your comments in, or you can ask to come up. So with that, I'm trying to see. So she talks about, like, she's got this other figure here, if you happen to have the book, where she's kind of showing how they all combine together and where they go on the chart. Okay. I've actually combined other theories and philosophies with the chakras. So how we can do that is when we look at the 7 hermetic principles, they actually coincide. They coincide with the 7 chakras. And then we also have, all of a sudden I'm blanking too. Gosh, I'm having a night. The spiritual alchemy. The spiritual alchemy has 7. That coincides with the 7 chakras too. So there's a lot of other ones out here. So the reason she does talk about why she combines the Christian sacraments, Hindu chakras, and the Kabbalah tree of life is because she studied Judaism, Hinduism, and Christianity. And she does state that she is a Christian. So that is why these are combined. So I'm trying to find where I made my little marks. And I'm not finding those. So I don't know, Chaos, if you want to add anything about just the 7, the combination. I don't know if you have any experience or knowledge on the sacraments that you might want to throw out.
Listen, I'm not the one to talk about anything about Jeebus, but the 7 steps to spiritual alchemy, or that's I was on Alien T's live whenever we were talking about them. Every single time Spirit dropped me in there because I had a little bit of a different understanding of it than he did. And I think that the reason there's discrepancies is because we all have to believe a little bit differently. And also, as humans, we have to make it make sense and fit it into a box, which I dislike greatly. I think I think that there's an undertow to the ones that you probably have a little bit of a discrepancy with that you could make sense of. So maybe it's not marriage, but maybe it's a divine union, and maybe that divine union has nothing to do with romance, but it's your person, it's your partner, it's your other half. And there's just, especially religion, is so quick to put everything into these boxes that are so finite, which is why the word God is hard for me. Because you put my source in a box and call it God, and who I see as the highest is much more than anything they could ever put in that box,
Yes, I love that. I was actually on the spiritual alchemy too on Alien Teas. Yeah. Which was a really good conversation. And I love when we can have conversations and say, okay, this is where it's at. See, my issue with marriage is I have a lot of friends who have no intention of getting married. And so why is it like you can't, if you don't get married, your heart chakra is not going to be in alignment? Like that makes no sense to me because you can have love in other ways.
That's why I think that it's meant to be on a much greater. I mean, it could be your damn cat.
Yeah,
Let's be
good.
real. Who is to say that I don't have everything opened up to me that I didn't? And I'm not going to lie to you. Like my cat, I have 3 of them. Don't say this too loud. But this one, he's just a baby. He ain't got all his crayons in his box. He's not the brightest thing in the world, but he is the best baby on the planet. And he fills my soul with everything I need. Most of the time, he drives me knuckin' futs. But if there's anything that ever opened me to, outside of my child, that ever opened me to that it's this cat. So, like, I mean, I can't conceptualize it the way that religion does, but I can understand it.
Yes, and I try to like step outside and understand it myself. But then I have to stick up for other people. And yes, Sophie, that's right. This is a belief system. And I do appreciate you saying that because that is important to understand when we're looking at spiritual stuff, we do have to understand different people are going to have different views. And I have run into people who are very Catholic that will flat out say, but I don't believe in this. And it's like part of their like core teachings. So yeah, it's, pretty profound. Sometimes we do have to deal with that. And welcome, Azriel. How are you tonight?
Sleeping.
or trying to find his headphones.
Like me, he's always trying to find service.
Yeah, well, and you know what? He's right by a cemetery, so they will interfere with his service. So the spirits like that energy and they like him. Oh, yeah, so you only have a couple bars, Azrael. So
Here
see
we go.
it's him.
I think I
Oh, there
found
we go. Yay.
UPIA, UPIO.
To speculate for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely believe it. It's the cemetery next to me. So, are we just getting started, or you've been on for 20 minutes?
Yeah. Well, we've been on for a little bit, but yeah, we really are just getting started. So, I don't know how long you heard. Um, this chapter is literally called Made in the Image of God. And
Oh,
he talks about the core concepts that she uses, Carolyn Miss, that she uses to come up with the 7 stages of power and healing. So they're the 7 chakras, they're the Kabbalah tree of life, and they're the 7 sacraments, the 7 Catholic sacraments.
all right. I didn't hear much of it, but I'm eager to listen. So,
Oh,
I'm
good.
gonna mute myself, but I'm doing good. I just barely got home, and I sat down, and this is the first thing that I got going. And then I seen DG Chaos a little while ago while I was going out for a minute, and that was the last time I was on TikTok. So good evening.
Yeah, well, good evening. So, anytime you guys want to jump in, please feel free to jump in. I did find one of the quotes. So, she does have some really amazing quotes in here. So, one of the quotes I did was um, she's talking about human reasoning, and she says, "Let me know what I am able to know and trust that behind all events, no matter how painful, there is a reason from which good can come." I'm going to read it one more time. Let me know what I am able to know and trust that behind all events, no matter how painful, there is a reason from which good can come. All right. One of the reasons I started that is I'm sure if we could like raise hands, like how many of us have had something painful, if it's like the loss of a pet, um, like a car breaking down on the freeway. I mean, we've all had something that has been painful in our life. And I like there is a reason from which good can come. Or other words, what's the lesson that we learned? And how are we growing? Hi, Elena. I don't know. Chaos, do you want to add anything to this or any interpretation for this quote? And if you need me to reread it, let me know.
I love that. I think that the reason is always something that as humans we're searching for, right? We're always searching for the reason. And one of the big things that I'm there, and it's not with everybody because I don't think everybody is ready to really be prepared to hear this, but the fact of the matter is trauma work is truly just getting to a space and place where you can understand that everything happens for a reason, and the reason is not always yours to understand in that moment. And it takes the trauma work out. It takes that trauma filter that we live with constantly off. And so I think that is very valid. It's just that, I mean, it may not be good for us, but the reasoning behind it is it's sound. It's just not ours to understand.
I love that you brought that up because as like the first time I read this quote, I was actually like dealing with the trauma because I first read this book back in like 2009 and I was dealing with a horrific trauma. My kids were dealing with it, I was dealing with it, and I remember people saying there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I literally said to my own mother, who kept saying it the most, I'm like, if you say that one more time, I'm going to punch you. Because at that moment where I was in the tunnel, it was so dark that I couldn't see a star. But when you do get to the point where you start seeing the light, you're working through the trauma. I think this is a great quote for if we're in the middle of something really horrific right now, it may not sink in yet, and you may be like wanting to punch me because you're like, what the heck? You read this quote, but it will click when it is supposed to. When you're ready to get out of the worst part, it will click. It's just like the 5 stages of grief. Until you get out of whatever stage of grief you're in, this quote won't make sense. And it may not make sense until you're like 5 years out of it. And then you'll be like, oh, wow, now it makes sense. Did you want to add anything else, Chaos? And then we'll go to Azrael.
Mute. No, I think that it's grief and trauma work, and the ability and the readiness to do so. It's not linear. And telling people there's a light at the end of the tunnel really does feel like just suck it up for now. You'll be all right soon. So like, I can totally understand that. Like, here's the deal. The sun actually gives CANCER. So like, I'm cool in the dark. We're cool here. It's good. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of I don't know. I think people need to appreciate their darkness, and it can't be done in the moments or in the space and time of the trauma, but like, it's got me through. I should be a hot mess if I, oh man. But I'm just here painting furniture and living my best life. So,
and that's what happens. We get to that point. Yeah. And just, if I can like throw this out to anybody going through trauma does not need to hear there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you are going through trauma and that statement right there, like, just infuriates you, that's when you, like, I will start sentences now. This was one thing I learned going through my trauma, because it did make me mad. I learned to say, I need to be heard right now. I just need you to listen. I'm not asking for advice. I just need you to listen. And if you feel up to it at the end of listening, I might need a hug. I mean, we have to vocalize because people don't understand. And sometimes they want to just give you advice to make it go away, or they don't want to hear you anymore. So just say, just flat out say that, and say, if you can't be the one to listen to me right now, I need you to tell me so that I can go to someone else. So I think that's really important. So if you are dealing with something where that phrase is affecting you, you need to be heard. So this is also where a lot of times counselors are really good. But if you have like that sweet, sweet friend that just will listen and give you that hug, that's the friend that you want to go to, or if it happens to be your spouse or a sibling or something. So I did want to throw that out there though. But Azrael, do you need me to reread the quote?
Like, because I think White Wolf just came in. I don't think she heard the quote. So, yeah, if you like.
Okay, here's the quote. Let me know what I am able to know, and trust that behind all events, no matter how painful, there is a reason from which good can come. I'm going to read it one more time because I kind of sputtered a little on there. Let me know what I am able to know, and trust that behind all events, no matter how painful, there is a reason from which good can come. Azrael, would you like to add? What's your thoughts? What's your feelings with that one?
Yeah, that's like a cliffhanger, because if you're trying to help somebody out, do they really understand the pain or trauma that you're going through? And that's just like the other quote that was just stated. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. This type of stuff. Like, eventually you get over it. Type of stuff. No, if an individual is saying that quote to somebody, we have to direct them to someone that has a similar past or is actually dealing with something. So that way, you're simultaneously working with somebody to get through the understanding of the circumstance. Because you know what? Not everybody's dealing with the same pains and same traumas. And, it's a cheap dismissal when they say that. Oh, you're going through it because there's a reason behind it. It's like a scapegoat. It's really not an appropriate thing. It's more like, what? How can I help you? Can you explain a little bit? Is this something that you want to discuss with me? Maybe I can acknowledge a little bit more of how I can aid or even direct you to the right individual. Versus a quote like that. If I'm correct.
That's yes, Azrael. Thank you. I think that is very, very well said. Very well said. And a lot of people who do pick up this book and read it, they're reading it for the purpose that they are dealing with some kind of grief or trauma. And it's a tool in our toolkit. Chaos and I both said this at the beginning. This, like, if when we get into the other chapters, it's a tool to use in conjunction with proper medical treatment, with whether it's a medical physician, a primary care physician, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or a counselor. Any of the holistic tools, they are tools in our medicine kit that can help us, but we should be using them in conjunction with medical care. So I do want to stress that. And I love, Johnny, that's beautiful. You can learn to carry these scars. Yes. And sometimes it might take decades to learn to carry the scars. But that's very true. I think that's very beautiful. You can learn to carry the scars for all of you that I'm hoping I'm not missing a lot of these. And White Wolf, I know where you are. I feel you, and you are heard. So know that you are heard. That's the most important thing, is to be heard, and know that we have a spiritual community that can back us up. We have a beautiful spiritual community. Okay, anything else on that quote, Chaos or Azrael, before I move on to the next? I'll move on to the question.
Well, I don't have something initially tied to the quote, but it relates to the quote. In the same scenario, when we're dealing with circumstances like that, even when we're in the good things, what I'm saying? We have to be authentic of who we are and stuff like that. When we go through trauma, it's not good to hide it. Be about it, be verbal about it, because the individuals that are there to help you will eventually reach out to you. But if you keep that stuff bottled in, it just becomes something that will hurt you in the long run because you're not letting it out. And I think it's needed for you to communicate. Reach out to somebody or just pick up that book, and start from that book and do what we're doing here is find individuals that can relate to this book and have discussions, because it's necessary to have the communications. Sometimes we think we can walk with it, without talking about it, but I think it's needed to speak about it. You have to speak about it.
You do, and you have to speak to the right person. Because when we don't speak to the right person, sometimes that holds us back. It's like my husband will sometimes say to me, why is it that you'll tell your friend that, but you won't tell me? I'm like, because you tell me to get over it and I need to get it out. Like, I just need you to listen and then be like, okay, I get it. He doesn't do that all the time. He is a very beautiful person, but sometimes some stuff he's like, So I know which stuff he's going to be, and which stuff I'm going to be heard. So,
I just wanted to just say, like, the way that I, whenever somebody calls me, and, because I do counseling with people. So, whenever, whether it's a friend or client, my first question, or maybe second or third, if I am too quickly like dropped into it, sometimes I don't think about it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, is how can I support you? Like, do you need a cheerleader? Do you need a sounding board? Do you need logic? Do you need to be chaosed? Because the way that I would handle it, just me, myself, and I, is a lot different than the way some people need it to be handled in those moments. And I understand that. And then we go from there. I think it's And whenever somebody that is in that space and time, it's really hard to remember to say, hey, I don't really need input. Do you mind just to listen? So
It's very hard. Thank you for, like, it is very, very hard. It's hard to say, I need to be heard.
absolutely.
If it helps, and this goes out to anybody, write it on a post-it. Because sometimes if we have that post-it to remind us to tell somebody that, I just need to be heard. Sometimes that's like really, like that can be healing in and of itself. Because sometimes we don't know exactly what we need. We just need to be heard. I do love this comment. Johnny says, when you do speak about it, 90% of the time you are helping someone else with other than yourself. That is so true. I'm gonna give an example. I was at my brother's. We were having kind of a late night poker game with a bunch of people, and someone there had freaked out and had gotten very mad and said some pretty horrible things to a lot of people there. And another person got mad at person one, and it was pretty bad. I knew what the situation was with person one. So when person one went off, I told person two, who had gotten really mad, I said, you don't know what that person's going through right now. So your reaction wasn't okay. And person two got really mad at me. The information I knew was pretty private to person one, and my brother happened to know what was going on. And so he turned to person two and he's like, this is what's going on. It was a situation, a grape. We'll leave it at that, a grape trauma essay. And as soon as my brother said that, person two just went flush white. And they were like, oh my gosh. And then they ran inside. I'm like, and my brother said to me, no, leave it. What I didn't know at that moment was person two had gone through the same exact thing that person one had gone through. So she realized, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said this to person one. And so I gave them 30 minutes. I went inside, and person one and person two had made up, and they were bonding, and now they're lifelong friends because they trauma bonded over this. So we don't always know. And we don't always, like, sometimes our trauma will manifest in anger. But yes, that's where I was going with that point. Sometimes we don't know the whole story when somebody bursts out. It was a very we're literally playing, and a card wasn't the card that was wanted when the trauma came out. And it ended up being a really good thing, because person one and person two, like I said, now they are bonded for life. And person one had somebody to hear them and understand their story. And, it created something very beautiful. So I'll just throw that out. But that was a very beautiful, beautiful saying. I don't know if Chaos and Azrael, if you want to add anything about Johnny Slade, when he said, when you do speak about it, 90% of the time you are helping someone else other than yourself.
So Johnny's a friend of mine, and I think it's why it's so important. It's why I tell my story. It's not because it's fun to tell, but if my story can help somebody else see that, hey, like, I know it sucks. I know it sucks, but the reality is you got up today and you sought help, even if it wasn't consciously. And tomorrow's a different day, and it may suck just as bad. But in a year, the pain that you're in will not be so deafening. And there are moments that are bad, but like, here we are, here I am. And if I can be where I'm at at one point or another soak in you when you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, it's important.
It is. And it does help to see other people who have gone through a similar trauma that are further along in the healing process. That is so helpful, because then it's like, I can do it. They did it. I can do it. And it also helps to find that advocate. Azrael, anything to add?
Totally agree. And, and that coexists with I was mentioning a little while ago is that, with everything else, we have to be authentic. And if this is something that happened to you, you need to just speak about it. You can't hold it away, because in a true sense, look, just as was discussed, if you speak it out and talk about it and show that you're putting action through that, through what you've been through, you're actually doing something constructive and being positive with it. You can influence somebody else. And that's what I meant. You can inspire others to actually follow suit, or even ask questions. If you are a counselor, now you have somebody that can confide in you. Why? Because you were open, you were authentic. And that's the key. Even through that dark side, where we go through, we have to speak about it. We can't hide that, because I've gone through some minimal stuff, nothing extreme, but I've noticed that even the minimal stuff, when I hide it and keep it to myself, I don't help myself. I don't get out of it. I'm stuck in a loop because I don't speak about it. And I think allowing myself to speak about it, like an individual will speak about their trauma, they're able to actually release some of the tension, and awareness becomes others. Like, what, that individual there had dealt with something similar to what I have, and they can actually reach out to you, because, through our authentic, I can't be a professional in something if I don't understand it. And firsthand experience is the key. I've been through it, and now I see and I do understand. So if you need assistance, I can help you out because I've been there. I'm 7 years, 8 years into it. But you know what? I've learned, and I know you're just starting and you're just feeling this trauma and it's new to you. But, just observe and watch and see my action. And I think it's needed. We need to speak about it.
Very beautiful. This is another reason why the spiritual community is so great. So, because we have people that can listen to us. And one thing I've noticed is most people in the spiritual community, and I'm just saying most, I don't have percentages, have come here because we're trying to heal our spirit from something that happened. And we don't need to say, oh, this was minor or this was major. We're coming here to heal from something that happened, because our spirits need that healing. And we also want to reach like that divineness, right? Because we're realizing how important we are. So we have a very beautiful spiritual community here. So for those that just joined, because I've seen a couple new people join, this is our Sunday book discussion on Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. And it's okay if we get a little derailed, because this is a spiritual topic. And this actually is bringing up a lot of stuff for everybody. So, this book is literally another way to help guide yourself in conjunction with medical treatment to be healed. And Carolyn Miss really did recognize the fact that, like, when our spirit is not heard, it is not healed, this actually manifests in our physical body. So that's really kind of the core thing here. So I love, yes, something minor to me might be major to someone else. Exactly. So that's why, like I always say, anybody's grief and trauma, it doesn't matter what it is. I know one of the lives, somebody was talking about something that, like, someone's candy bar disappeared, yeah, that can be traumatic. If you were like looking forward to it and the candy bar disappears, it's like, like I wanted that, so that can be a trauma. And we need to kind of recognize that and be heard.
Well, so trauma, regardless of what it looks to other humans, creates cortisol. Cortisol is toxic to the body once it gets past a certain level. And if you don't properly process it out, cortisol is processed out by sweating. Whenever we have a trauma that doesn't cause us to sweat, we don't process it out properly. which creates gray matter on the brain. After it's so much cortisol. It actually looks on scans like a traumatic brain injury. So whether it is, something huge that other people view as huge, like I lost my husband, or if it's something like, in fifth grade, somebody dumped a bag of Coke in my backpack and I had to walk around with soda all over myself all day. That there is no big or little t in trauma. It's just how the human connects to it.
Yes, thank you, Chaos, because I think that's the most important thing. Because sometimes I've been like, oh, my trauma is not as bad as yours. And I have to realize, wait, I was in a really bad space. There is no, this one's worse or this one's better. No comparisons, no judgment. Okay. All right. So, one of the questions, so if you've read this, feel free to, if you want to put the comment down there, if you want to jump up on panel, because this is an open panel. And the book, again, is The Anatomy of Spirit by Carolyn Miss. And this is her process that she's come up with, the 7 stages of power and healing. So the first question I have is, what do the 7 sacred truths represent in the context of spiritual health? So I'm going to give a little summary, and this will kind of provoke us to think. So her concepts of the 7 sacred truths symbolize essential life lessons that guide us in managing our energies and balancing our physical and spiritual well-being. They act as a roadmap for personal growth, emphasizing interconnectedness, honor, love, integrity, truth-seeking, and surrendering to the divine will and living in the present moment. One thing I do want to say, she does talk a lot about the spirit and the physical. So she's talking about spirit and body. The mind, I truly feel the mind plays a big role too, because sometimes like trauma manifesting spiritually, damaging us spiritually, is also going to manifest in our mind. I mean, like, let's honestly look at this. Things like PTSD, depression, anxiety. I mean, like the list goes on and on. So we do need, so when I'm kind of saying what her process is behind this. My personal belief is the body, mind, and spirit actually need to be healed together. They do have so much crossover. So that's really important. And yes, thank you, Brenda. Yes, there are 7 steps. And we have a lot of 7 steps, if you believe in it. Like, so she's combining the Christian sacraments, the chakras, and the Kabbalah tree of life. But there is no reason we cannot add spiritual alchemy and the Hermetic principles. There's no reason at all. I also think Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy, his pyramid does only have 5. However, when you get to his enlightenment, that can be divided into 2, because the enlightenment really corresponds with our third eye and our crown chakra. So I do think that's also kind of important. And sorry, the heart and the other one, his second level 2, would combine to 2. So with that first one, the 7 sacred truths symbolize essential life lessons that guide us in managing our energies and balancing our body, mind, and spirit. Chaos, anything you want to add with that?
I'm not going to lie. I got very distracted and I missed half of it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So I'll let Azrael talk, and then if anything inspires you, if not, we'll move on to the next one, if that's cool. So, Azrael?
Yes, two things. Number one is, you're correct. We can imply or integrate, such things as spiritual alchemy or other steps, because the 7th truth, one of them that I do follow is the relative truth, where the truth is shaped by our personal experiences. And basically, when we are able to experience things, we can observe it through our individual perspective. So, as another individual is coming to the conversation and we talk to them, we get to see it through their, relative truth. In other words, their perspective. So that's why we're supposed to be able to hear individuals out, and that's why we give our perspectives and our truth. Because there's absolute truth, and there's a couple of other ones. I think because there's an autonomy of spiritual. There's spiritual truth as well, where it relates to the essence of our existence. What is the purpose and nature of our lives? Why are we here? Where's the soul supposed to go on the journey, and so forth and so forth. So that is a different truth versus that relative one where it's us, that first-hand individual. If that makes sense to you, because there's 7 steps, and I think I know a couple of them, but those are the 2 that I am aware of. And I just want to say hello to Candace, by the way. Hello, Candace.
Hi, Candace. No, yeah, that's what's really cool is all the different 7s, and when we incorporate them, how we can create a lot of change. Whether you believe in them all or you don't, it's okay. Some of them are going to resonate with us, just like I was saying earlier, like the 7 sacraments. They didn't really resonate with me, but her concept resonates with me. So I don't know, Chaos, do you want to add anything now?
So I don't know if this is what triggered in my brain is there is my truth. There's three, right? Yours, mine, and the truth. Because there's perception, there's projection, and then there's perception, projection. What's the word? Shit. Oh my
I want it to. I have like my laptop up.
Those.
It's another P, I'm pretty sure. I mean, so it's damn it.
I can't remember it.
I can't think of it
I know
either.
where you're going.
Practical.
Perception and perception. Oh, sorry, Azrael, you got one?
Practical truth. And that's the one, that we see on our daily life. There's the truth on the daily life.
Hold on.
The practical truth.
I can still hear, but I'm gonna come right back. That's not the word. I understand you and I agree with you. That's not the word I'm looking. I'm gonna be right back.
It's 3 Ps. I remember learning it when I took one of my classes in college. And college was a long time ago for me. I look like I'm 21, but college was a long time ago for me. So, okay, well, we'll give Chaos a minute. While she's doing that, please don't forget to like the live, and we appreciate the gifts. We totally do. So everybody who's given gifts, and I know I try to catch it. If I didn't catch and give you a shout out for mine, thank you so much. I really totally appreciate it. I'm here every Sunday with Witchy Book Club. We're doing a chapter a week. And so the book we're doing until June is Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. And here's just a little tidbit. On my Patreon at the $5 tier or above, if you decide to do that, I am literally going page by page through the book on Tuesdays. So anybody on Patreon can come join here live if they feel like coming up on panel. And of course, anybody, even if you just want to make a comment and you haven't read the book, please feel free to join panel. If you've read the book and you're not, I know it can be nerve-wracking to come up. Please feel free to request. I will let you up so that we can have a great discussion. And we're having fabulous discussion this week. So, and it's okay, Candace, if you haven't read it, because really we're deep diving. So just enjoy. And I am posting the replay of this on my YouTube channel and my Patreon. So you can go to my YouTube channel or my Patreon and watch the replay. I'd love to post the replays here, but they limit your hours and I go over the hour limit that I have. I don't know if eventually you can post multiple hours, because I know somebody told me there's people that will go live for 24 hours. I cannot imagine going live that long. So I really honestly can't. So we'll there's Chaos.
I can't find it. My brain is mush right now. I will find it. I'm gonna just keep listening and keep looking.
Okay. And Azriel, did you have a comment?
No, I was just going to comment about that 24-hour live. I know one individual did it 42 or 48 hours. They were under. Yes, he's one of the guys. He hasn't been out here, but He's he used to do lives a lot. I don't know where he's at. Haven't seen him in a while. I
Okay.
don't want to say his name because I don't want him to come in the last second all of a sudden and maybe assume that I'm saying something in a negative. But no, he done stuff, and I remember as a kid we used to stay up all night. I can only imagine how it will be in a live. So much energy. And you can't stay still. You got to be mobile. It'll be kind of hard. I'll brain fry. My
Well,
my brain will be fried.
well, and sometimes I hit a point where there's like no return where I'm just like, all right, I'm done. So I couldn't go live that long. But but it is what it is. So kudos to anybody who can go 48 hours. That's pretty awesome. So, if they had a good, I see, I couldn't even listen to someone that long. I'd be in and out like quite a bit. So, all right. So, while Chaos is looking for this, again, I want to thank everybody who's given gifts, and thank you to everybody who is giving hearts. Look, woo, hearts. Okay. So, all right. Again, the book Anatomy of the Spirit, Carolyn Miss. I'm going to move to the second question. How can understanding the relationship between energy and spiritual power assist in healing? So I think this question is pretty pivotal. It really hits more than just the book. So I'm going to say the question again, and then I'm going to give the brief summary of this chapter on that concept before we jump into the discussion. How can understanding the relationship between energy and spiritual power assist in healing? All right, so Carolyn Miss's theory is acknowledging human energy is intertwined with spiritual health allows individuals to see physical ailments and manifestations of the spiritual crisis. This recognition can accelerate healing by empowering individuals to take responsibility for their wellness, promote practices that restore their energy and their spirit. Again, she's not talking body, mind, and spirit. I like to incorporate body, mind, and spirit. I feel like they all intertwine together, and it's really important to have there we go. Perception, perspective, and principle. Is that it, Chaos?
That's one of them. Personalization is another one. There's a certain word I'm looking for that I can't find. I'm gonna have to get off of it, and it'll come to me, I'm sure.
It will.
But it's so my perception or your perception. You know what? I can't think.
It's all good.
But it's personal. It's basically what you think happened. It's your reality, my reality, and what the reality was. Is basically what it's saying, and which is kind of what the person was. There's just a specific word. I'm just being OCD about it.
And it's going to come to you, and it's okay. You can say it at any live if we don't remember it for this week.
Perspective, Tina, for the freaking win. Yes. Sorry.
Thank you, Tina.
Bless your soul.
Okay, this is great. Okay, so Robert. Okay, so the question was, how can understanding the relationship between energy and spiritual power assist us in healing? And I love this, Robert. Knowing the frequency that can heal would be a good start. Yes, it would be, right? Okay, so we're just going to go with this question. How can understanding the relationship between energy and spiritual power assist in healing? Chaos. I'm going to let you take it away.
I love that you think that I have any idea what's happening right now. My brain is still saying, Tina, have mercy.
Right? We're all like, Tina, Tina.
Azrael, you go first. I'm going to pay attention this time.
Azrael's going to go first.
Hey, can you read the quote again, please? I know it's energy.
Yes. Okay. So Carolyn Miss is saying, and I'm going to add the body, mind, and I'm going to add mind in there because I really feel like mind should be added. She says, acknowledging human energy is intertwined with spiritual health. Spiritual health allows individuals to see physical ailments as manifestations of spiritual crises. This recognition can accelerate healing by empowering individuals to take responsibility for their wellness, promoting practices that restore their energy in their body, mind, and spirit. And so
That's pretty deep. I don't know where to go. Chaos is with it. But you know what? I think Number one will be being mindful, mindfulness. In other words, slow down so that way we can observe and find if we have any sort of emotional unbalance, imbalance. I say imbalance because, when we don't allow our mind to be processed, we can actually be out of juice, out of energy, but when we are mindful and actually, I'm not saying to meditate, but just, don't act on action. Just be there. So that way you can see how you can fall into that flow of understanding, and it breaks away from any anxiety or any depression or even fatigue where you're too tired. Because, we might be overwhelmed in a situation. Oh, I'm down and out because I've been there. I've been stressful and I know I have to deal with this healing part. But you know what? I'm so tired and out and depressed that I'll just sleep on it and tomorrow I'll deal with it. But you know what? I found myself in the same cycle over and over and over. And, one of the main things we can do is holistic healing, and that's resting. Start with resting. So I believe, we calm down, we rest, and then from calming down and resting and being mindful of the situation, we can observe and actually see where we stand with it. Because, it could be something as physical that's actually interfering with our actions of overcoming it, or it could just be something mental, and the mental was distracted by not being able to rest and sleep because we're constantly pondering and overwhelmed by a situation that, such as trauma. It's overwhelming, and the anxiety that comes with it takes away and sucks up our energy. It's like a parasite. So, if we rest and actually self-love and find that self-love, whether taking a nice bath in Epsom salt and bubbles and all that good stuff, we're actually releasing it little by little. And then once we can catch our mind, and then we can actually focus on a resolution to that problem that we had. And, the energy is vital, especially for our spirit, because, I definitely believe the essence of the spirit is the energy.
That is very beautiful. Thank you, Azrael. And yes, self love is so important. And mindfulness is not necessarily doing a meditation. Mindfulness is doing something for yourself. A lot of times for me, it's just go sit by a tree, sometimes even for just like a minute. It's like I talk about tree grounding, or like when I walk around barefoot on the dirt. And I love this. I wanted to share this comment that Brenda made. If you can if you can convince your heel by your higher self, what you believe comes true. That is very true. When we actually, like, if we tell ourselves, oh, it's raining, I'm going to have a headache, we're going to give ourselves a headache. But if we say, oh, it's raining, I'm going to go dance in the rain and enjoy it, we're actually giving ourselves health. We're like enjoying what is coming versus giving ourselves illness. So a lot of times we do give ourselves illness. That is part of this book, is how we think. I'm just going to throw out another example. So when I was getting I think it was Reiki 2, it was either Reiki 2 or Reiki 3, one of the other students in the class was having a really hard time and wasn't like a conduit to the Reiki energy. So when you're doing Reiki, you're a conduit, whether you're giving Reiki to yourself or to a client, you're that energy conduit sending that Reiki healing energy, that Reiki relaxation energy. So like you can send that, and you're literally a conduit. And one of them couldn't do it. And like at first, like when the student was saying they couldn't do it, it's like, okay. But when they had to go around, because everybody would lay on the table and then each person would go around and give Reiki. And it was like, oh, this person really isn't being a conduit to the Reiki. Like they're not able to do it. There was a lot of unhealed stuff, and it was that mind over matter where they were making themselves sick, and it was blocking that energy because they were literally everything, kind of like hypochondria, where everything, they're like, oh, cheese makes me sick. Oh, standing in the rain makes me sick. Oh, sunshine makes me sick. Where like everything makes them sick in some way. So we can actually block ourselves and hurt ourselves. So Brenda, that was a very beautiful quote. Thank you. Chaos. Do you need me to repeat anything, or are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. This is my wheelhouse. This is my wheelhouse. So I think what you're saying, yes. But the biggest thing that I find with people, because I teach people how to work with the energy and the mind this is one of the things that I'm huge into teaching. I don't want to have to do quantum every other week for somebody. I want you to be able to alchemize that energy on your own. And the biggest thing is changing the initial mindset, reprogramming your brain to stop yourself in that I don't feel good, or man, I've had a headache for today. It's always going to be 3 days. It's always 3 days. And then whenever it still continues and lasts for 3 days, you keep reprogramming, because it's still that 3 days is still catching up from the last. You know what I mean? Like it's not always going to be on demand. There may be a reason you have that headache for 3 days. So to kind of come off of what you were already saying, like, it's important not to say, well, I clearly can't do this because it didn't happen. Do you know how many times I would have rolled over and been buried if I had said, well, they told me that and then it didn't work, so I just clearly am not cut for this? Because it may not, there's a reason for it every time. Like we were saying a while ago, it's not only trauma. I mean, I used to have I've had brain surgery, you know what I mean? I used to have migraines constantly, and I could not understand it. And because I had to go back home to have this brain surgery, so many other events have taken place because I moved back home across the country, you know what I mean? And then I came back. It's just like, you never know what's going to come of it. So just because it doesn't happen in the moment, don't stop retraining your brain, retrain those cells, because it's really at a molecular level that these words are like, I know you have, there's no way you haven't, but the guy that has the 2 ice trays and screams into one of the ice trays or bottles of water, whatever, and then freezes it, and then speaks kindly to the other and then freezes it. And then the water that was screaming, it's chaotic, it's jagged, it's so much different from the other one. And so that plays back to whenever you speak, like right now I'm on a thing where I've started saying, I am lucky, everything good for me flows to me every day. So it's, just trying to work through what works for you, but speaking kindly to yourself so that your body speaks kindly back.
Yes, it's so important. If a daily affirmation works, go with it. But yes, we have to. And Robert made this beautiful comment too. Be aware of your surroundings and the people in your space. That is so important. And a lot of times we don't realize it, especially if you're in a bad place and you're around people that might have that negative energy. You're not going to realize I shouldn't be around this person. But if you go around somebody and they make you sad, you need to rethink, because you can't change them. You can only change you, and changing you changes your health for your body, mind, and your spirit. So that's really, really critical. I like this too. Drink plenty of water, take time to center yourself, and spend time in nature. Yes, 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 and yes. Yes. Actually, studies have shown if you don't get enough water, and if I don't get enough water, my lips get really dry and I start coughing. It's like this horrible thing, but when I have enough water, I'm fine. It's amazing what a lack of water will do. And think about it. Like in the winter when it's cold and we don't want to go outside, even if there's not snow on the ground, but it's like 10 degrees or 0 degrees with -18 wind chill, right, Azrael? We don't want to go outside, but then we start getting what they call cabin fever. We start to get depressed. Like there's things that our bodies need, and we do have to make sure that we're getting what we need. So, really, really important. Anything to add before I move to the next concept, the next question that's a concept?
But I want to thank you for that input that you just added, because you know what, I find myself coughing at times and I don't know why, and maybe that's it. Thank you for sharing that.
It probably is. Like, I noticed, like, if I don't, also I'll get headaches too if I don't get enough water. To the point where my husband will be like, "How much water did you have to drink today?" So, but all right, I'm going to move to the next one. And if I miss any important comments, Chaos and Azrael, if you see any important comments, please just like unmute and spewed them out, because I think I've seen some really beautiful comments in the discussions, and we're having like beautiful, beautiful conversations. So, all right. So again, with this book, here's my third question for tonight. Why is the concept of co-creation significant in spiritual adulthood? So this one kind of really goes along with a lot of the Christian sacraments, but it is discussed in the Kabbalah Tree of Life too. Co-creation signifies taking an active role in shaping one's life and health through conscious choices and understanding. This maturity shifts perception from viewing oneself as passive recipient of the divine will to an empowered participant of one's own spiritual evolution. So I'm going to read that again, just in case I read too fast. Co-creation signifies taking an active role in shaping one's life and health through conscious choices and understanding. This maturity shift and perception from viewing oneself as a passive recipient of the divine will to an empowered participant in one's own spiritual evolution. So we can discuss how shifting our conscious choices helps us grow. And this shift actually affects our health too. And I think that's one reason why, like I said earlier, like a lot of people in the spiritual community initially started their spiritual path because either they were dealing with trauma or grief, or they were not spiritually fulfilled. Like they felt that like emptiness in the spirit. So Chaos, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that, it goes along with what we just said, right? Like what I just said a while ago is, changing your mindset. And whenever you get to a certain point in your understandings of how the universe kind of works and how we're magnets for where we are, right? So co-creating, meaning there is nothing that you, me, or anybody else can truly desire that you can't have. It's your birthright. Point blank, period. We were sent here with the tools in our tool belt in order to achieve anything that our hearts desired here and now. I don't want a Lamborghini. I don't want to be any of these like ginormous like billionaires, because that's not my path. However, I am well on track for what I do desire now that I have started to co-create and make. Well, actually, everything started to. I heard a quote today. My friend Keys of Wisdom, she's fantastic, and she said, "What if the chaos wasn't really chaos? It was the illusions of your perceptions of reality crumbling beneath your co-creation." And I stopped and I was like, oh shit. I can't. She does me like that all the time with her like channeled messages, because they're so like, it's the way that it's just like, logically that was logical in my brain, right? But like to hear it the way that, like, hi, chaos. Welcome to my shit show. But the moment I realized how to co-create and what to do to create space and energy that I wanted, literally my entire world fell apart. So I could co-create it, right? So it's a change of mindset so that everything can be on the, I mean, we don't really deviate from a path. It's one path forward, right? But like we make it hard or easy. And we reach as far as we can believe we can. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. It's very true. Like we do need to set our goals where we want to be. You know? I mean, I remember telling my husband at one point, I was at the tail end of working through this bad trauma, and I remember telling him, I said, I just want to have a simple life full of love. And saying it, I manifested it. So I'm like, I don't, you know, that's so think about what you want. What does and what does simple life mean? Simple life means exploring my spirituality, playing in my garden. Like, you know, that's just it makes me happy. It's literally the stuff that I live for. And you know, we're not always there all the time because when trauma happens, I sometimes forget, hey, what makes me happy? So, all right, we have some beautiful comments in here too. Yes, here's one. I now realize to forgive, but if negative thoughts are around me, I shall just move on. That's beautiful. Yeah, we do have to sometimes move on from those negative thoughts in our head, and we will figure out how moving on is. Like, do we need to implement some of the techniques we're going to learn in the chapters coming up? But Azrael, before I digress, co-creation.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I hear it a lot in here in our spiritual community. We talk about it. And, obviously, number one, we were brought here by the divine, so we know we serve a purpose. So automatically off the bat, we are in that co-creation with the divine. But also, it's not limited to communities like this. Like here tonight, we're hearing different perspectives and discussing with one another. And as we work with one another and hear our perspectives, we're able to integrate, per se, your perspective, Rowan, or even Chaos's perspective. I can integrate it, and together we can co-create something as a community. Because it's not always about co-creating individual, because I could have different visions and things that I want to reach on. But then there's other goals that I can actually integrate and co-create with somebody else. Per se, there's so many different options with that. So it's leaving us open to understanding what our intentions are. Am I flexible with somebody's schedule? Am I flexible with their ideas and their concepts? So if I'm able to embrace the diversity because their concepts are a little bit different, as long as we're integrating and co-creating, yeah, there we go. As long as we're integrating and communicating, we are co-creating and aiming for a positive aspects. Depending on what we're going to. I myself allow myself to foster other people's beliefs. I do have my beliefs, but they're not etched in stone. Meaning, I'm able to say, what worked for me today might not work for me tomorrow. So I have to be very open to that possibility. And me as an individual, I might not be able to fulfill or even change the concept. But allowing myself to be in a community with just minded individuals, I can co-create that. And I could co-create it because you know what? You have inspired me to actually move a different direction. And that's the ability to be able to embrace any other options, whether it's something that I might have overlooked or something that actually gives me that aha moment. That aha moment is the key. So many times in these lives when we're listening to one another, it's always aha, that light bulb is constantly lighting up because there's so much we can go on it. It's allowing us just to take that action. And the initial action is don't stay stagnant. If you want to grow and overcome the things, you have to be able to integrate. You have to be able to actually go beyond your own beliefs. And with that, I'm gonna,
Thank you. That's very beautiful. And it's true. Like that's one really great thing. I know like I've seen other communities where people argue and yell at each other. And what I love about this community is that people will say their opinion And they're literally, this is my opinion. And our community is so loving and kind to one another that we either say, ooh, I like that, and I'm going to try to incorporate that into my system. Or, I like it, but not enough to incorporate it, but I'm going to keep it on the back burner because that was a really cool concept. So Azrael, I do like that because yes, we are actually, like, when we are with like-minded people, we're also creating a beautiful energy too. And I wanted to shout out to Sam. Thank you so much for the gifts. And I want to thank everybody so much, who is giving any gifts out there, because they are really appreciated by everybody on the panel. And thank you so much for all the hearts. Again, we are talking about The Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. We are derailing quite a bit because this book really has like all these really great concepts. She gets into her concept that she came up with, a healing process, but this is literally sparking our minds and sparking our spiritual growth. And that's what's like super, super important, is for us to grow spiritually. So, and welcome, Bren. I see Bren came in. Bren, if you feel like jumping up, just hit the invite and you can come up on panel. Again, this is an open panel. Whether you've read the book or not, if you have comments that you want to make, would love to see those comments. Robert, I love this one. Be an inspiration to others if you see the opportunity to do so. Yes, especially when we're, oh, all good, Chaos, honey.
Thank you. If I can, I'll come back, but I need to fix dinner and I can't pay enough attention. Bye, guys.
So,
Take care, Chaos.
so I think part like in Azrael, feel like, I mean, I know you just added like a bunch, but we can grow so much. And like, just even Azrael, from when we first met, I feel like I've grown so much. I feel like you've grown so much, and we're like better people than we were. And we were pretty good people then. But
I agree. I agree. We were just like, so we know what we got. So what do we do with this? And that's the thing about it. And I'm glad that, you're here with me. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here with me too. So, all right, I'm going to jump in again. Thank you everybody for the gifts. We really appreciate it. And thank you for the hearts. We hit 10,000. Thank you everybody. That like really melts my heart. So, all right. Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. We are doing chapter 2. Next week, we'll be doing chapter 3. We're actually going to be jumping into the core of her concept. And her concept is the 7 stages of power and healing. It's really learning how to empower yourself and heal yourself. Because the whole thing is, a lot of times, a lot of our illnesses, our physical illnesses, are manifest because of how we are thinking. So what's going on in our mind and our spirit. So the fourth question I have is, what does the phrase all is one teach us about our connection to others? So in the book, Carolyn Miss basically in a nutshell says, all is one conveys the idea that every individual is part of a larger interconnected whole, fostering respect and empathy. It encourages honoring familiar and communal ties while recognizing that our actions affect the collective spirit of well-being of others. We've kind of already led up to this, but I do think that this is really important for us to touch on. And I want to start with, in order for us to be healed and be a good member in our family and in our community, we need to heal ourselves. Because if we don't spend that time with self-love and self-care and self-healing, we can't play a good role. So, Azrael, what does the phrase all in one teach us about our connections with others?
That's a good one. I wish Alien T was here for that one. Okay. Always one. Well, I definitely believe that always one is that, it's telling us that when we express ourselves, and no matter how we express ourselves, we are all expressing something from one source, one energy. As a collective, as a collective, we're speaking it, and it might be coming from me, it might be coming for yourself or somebody within the comments or in the community. We're all connected, and allowing ourselves to understand that the universal conscience is bringing forth what is called compassion and empathy, toward us. That's why we are drawn to one another when we can feel one another. So what always one is that every action or anything that we state is going to ripple through everything. In other words, as I'm speaking and I'm talking, I might think of something that I want to add on, and automatically in the comments it's going to pop up. So we're all thinking it. We're all thinking it, but sometimes, when we're all alone, we don't get these confirmations. But yet, when we're in the collective and the conscience is actually in tune to one another, all in one is realizing, what, that resonates with me, what you're saying, or something that I say might resonate to somebody, because what, we all have this awareness, and our actions let us know that we are unified. I'm starting to see that atom symbol. That atom symbol. You got the, yeah. I am starting to believe that the atom symbol is representing polarity, duality, and singularity. Meaning, that the singularity is that, what, we can coexist with all the options and yet not be wrong, because the overall collectiveness is telling us that, just like that atom, we're created from stardust. We're created from everything. So no matter what I do, no matter what I think, it's been thought before. Somebody already thought what I'm thinking. It's just that at this very moment, it was my perspective. This very moment was my voice to express it. So always one is that, what, we're all on the same boat, and no matter how you look at it, whether somebody sees it wrong or if somebody else sees it right, in true aspects, it's all of us, no matter what, it's all of us. And it's up to us as a unity to come together and try to decipher, these truths and wrongs of life, and actually fix it by allowing ourselves to know that it's for the better of all of us. If that makes sense. All is one is the better of all of us, because even through the mistakes, we can learn from one another to actually overcome those mistakes. And I didn't read that chapter, so I'm just trying to go by it, because you know what, I thought we were going to be in chapter 3. So but yes, I jumped one chapter ahead. But okay, but I hope that is right. And that's what I feel. Always one is that, what, we are the collective, and even though there's only 12 of us, what we're speaking here tonight is actually going through the 8 billion people around the world. In one point or another, they're going to see it, whether in their dreams or in their expressions, or for somebody.
Yes, very true. Very true. Welcome, Bren.
Error.
All right, I saw you knocking. So
Yep.
take it away. You always have great insight too. So
I was just about to make like a funny reference to Lily Tomlin, just be all, lady, open up, lady,
best.
it's me, Edith Dan. No. So the whole thing of all is one. That is true, because we are of the one. It's just each one of us is a really small, minor, very thin shard of the all. We all have that same foundation. We all yielded from it, and although this small shard, very thin shard, is so different based on, like if it broke into millions of pieces, it's so minuscule and shape different, but it's still the all at the core. And just because it's shaped in a different way, it's still that fragment of the original one. So, in a way, looking at it that way, seeing how this small shard fragment, just because it's shaped differently, the foundation's still the same. It curves, it makes a U shape, whichever. It's still the same, it's just being expressed differently. Then having that awareness of all of us starting at the same core is just molded in a different way. Why are we then going to be looking at another and think, well, you're shaped weird, but it's still the same foundation, just expressed differently? Don't Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, because we're all, and then that's where we can bring in our different perspectives too, because we're going to grow from everybody's. I do want to just bring this comment. Elena said, the truth conquers all obstacles as we transform into tranquility to shift a positive way. That's beautiful. And also, Brenda, you said we are all family. That makes me want to start singing.
We are family.
I got all my sisters in me.
Yep.
Y'all didn't know we were going to start singing. But yes, you will get everything here. Azriel, anything to add on that one before I move to the next one?
It's on point. That it. As simple as it is, it's complex, and it's complex because us. It's human nature to make things complex. But thank you on that one.
Yes, we do make things more complex than they need to be. It's like literally there. I remember one of my favorite teachers in school, and it was high school, my junior year in high school, Mr. Oates. He literally said in our creative writing class, less is more. And that has stuck with me for years. I've heard other people say it, but it's really extremely profound. I don't know if he said it at first. I don't know, but less is more. So we do make things more cumbersome and chaotic than we need to.
True. That is very true, because when you only give the bare bone minimum in a writing, that allows the imagination of the reader to go wild and start making their own perspectives on it. English was my favorite subject in high school, so.
Mine too. I was an English major for 2 years, English literature.
Oh, now I'm starting to think back. Oh, I remember when I read Macbeth. Oh, I miss it. I like the innocent flower, but the serpent underneath. Lady Macbeth, what are you doing? Oh, just get rid of that scallywag. Oh, all right.
Oh, I love the first act of Macbeth. I have it memorized. I've actually recited it on Alien Teas. So it worked in really well with whatever that spiritual topic was we were discussing. But yes. All right. So we're going to head to the fifth question. Again, the book, I know I've popped this up a lot, Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. We are in chapter 2. Next week, we'll be doing chapter 3. So the fifth question, we're on question 5. Woo. How do the concepts of the chakras, sacraments, and seraphats enhance our understanding of spirituality? Okay, so this is a very 2-sentence summary, but Carolyn Miss's concept the summary. Each system offers framework for understanding human experiences, challenges, and resonate across cultures. Integrating these teachings helps illuminate the path to spiritual growth, emphasizing shared truths like love, personal power, and the importance of living in alignment with our divine essence. All right, this is where I'm going to add. Okay, so the Catholic sacraments or Christian sacraments did not quite resonate with me. I'm just going to be honest. I did say that it might resonate with someone else, just my opinion. But okay, from that list, she incorporates the 7 chakras, the 7 sacraments, and the 10 seraphats. She does combine 3 of them to make 7. We have so much more we can add here. We can add the Hermetic principles. We can add spiritual alchemy. We can add Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy. Yes, I know the pyramid is 5, but the top 2 tiers actually combined with two chakras. There are a lot of 7s out there. It's been a week of 7s. Bryn and Azriel, it's been a week of 7s. All right, let's go. How are these concepts? And please feel free to add extra concepts if there's other concepts there. Go, Bryn.
Oh, well, I got one. Okay, well, how about the first 7 celestial bodies that could be seen without a telescope? Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. 7. And at the same time, also the signs Aries, 1, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. Okay, but then you count this. You count the same way back on the other way. Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Yeah.
Well, and think about how much even like the principles, like how we can actually work with astrology with our signs in all of our houses to incorporate into healing. I mean, you just said it with the 7. We just did it again.
Wait a minute. Another light bulb went off. Oh, hold on. Pump the brakes. The same thing can also apply to the nakshatras, which are the constellations within the zodiac signs. There is a total of, and also counting the hidden one in Capricorn Abjit, there's a total of 28. So the first 7, the first 4, which so that would be 7 times.
That's divisible by 7 3 times.
Yeah, so that'd be 7. So altogether, there's 27, then also 28. So that would be 4. Yeah. So 1/4 of the nakshatras would be 7. Then the next 4 would be 7. Then the next 4 would be 7. Then the next 4 would be 7.
Thank you, Azrael. My math was bad. We won't rely on me for math. This is why I don't do numerology.
Yeah, wow. 20. Wow. Well, that escalated quickly.
That makes up a whole month, 28 days.
Well, it's a 28. Well, technically it would be 27, but it's the spouses. I say spouses because it's wives of Chandra, but then there's Abhijit, who's the only male nakshatra out of all of them, which is like, oh, Chandra, are you having somebody extra in there? Ah, Chandra, oh, you little nasty. But that kind of, wow, my brain is still trying to process that. The hamsters in my head are like, oh, we found something, and now they're just playing ping pong with it, trying to figure out even more. But the
Oh, Brenda just said the star cluster called the 7 Sisters.
the 7.
Oh, I like that one. You know,
Yeah.
can I add? I can add one, but it's really nobody really talks about it.
Let me
You
have
know, okay, there's 7 days in a week. 5 days have passed. One is today, and tomorrow's the 7th. And see, the thing about it, when we look at everything in that aspects, the 7 can be an 8, but it's really part of the 7. So, in other words, live for today, and whatever you create today and actually resonate, we can actually make of tomorrow, if that makes sense. You know,
Aha, yeah, it does.
Oh, we got another one, the 7 continents. And think about like when we look at the continents. Okay, so I'm like a history geek. So when I'm teaching classes on different types of magic and how the magic explores like where it has come from, it is very unusual for it to not have gone somehow through all of the 7 continents. So spirituality literally interconnects. I mean, it's all connected.
Very interesting.
Oh yeah, like our minds are just the 7 dwarfs. Yes, well because think about their name. We've got Doc, Sleepy. Oh, I'm not going to remember all their names.
Dopey, grumpy, sleepy, sneezy, bashful, and what's his name? The main one. Or actually, like the leader one.
Doc.
Dog.
Doc. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna confess on that is and yes, 7 souls. I saw that. 7 deadly sins. Yes, that's a very good one. And in the 7 stages of spiritual alchemy. Yes, yeah. With Snow White,
7 virtues.
Oh yes, the 7 virtues. That would have been better than the seven sacraments, is the seven virtues. Oh, I'm mixing that. I'm going to have some fun with this. We grow and we explore. Like, there's so many sevens out there. So, yes, yes, yes. Anything else, Bren, you want to add? Like, all of our minds are we're like, literally, everybody's going to be up late tonight. So, fine. Any seven religions, any science, any store. Oh.
Wait a minute. I think I might got my hands on something. I'm trying to dig through my giant archive in my head to find it. Let's see. There's seven something that I had in my head.
What, seven Spanish angels?
Such thing as the seven seals?
The seals of Solomon. I don't remember. Wait. Yeah, they may be divisible by seven. Let me see. There's 44. That's not divisible by seven, is it? Go, Azrael.
No, because it wouldn't
rainbow.
be 11. It'll be 11. 4, 11.
Yeah. Okay. So, but seven musical notes on the scale, yes.
I forget.
But I'm thinking, I wonder if the amount of demons and the amount of angels are divisible by seven.
Okay, so
Seven
if
wonders
it's
of the
large
world.
Galatia, there's 72. So it may have.
Yeah, that won't work because that's, yeah. Seven branches of science. Yep, we've got. So, oh, see, we have. This is so beautiful. I'm trying to like say them out loud as I see them pop up.
The Super 7. I think that's a.
It's a crystal. Yes, the Super Seven is a crystal. Mm-hmm.
The seven African powers.
Yes. Oh, seven specific miracles, John, and the seven signs. There we go. Heptagons have seven sides. Seven's a magical number. It has been, for those that didn't join earlier this week, when Bryn and I were doing Tuesday Tarot, the first reading we did, we both got the Two of Cups. After that, every card was somehow associated with seven. So seven has been the week. Yes, topic. Well, the spiritual world, but we can take almost anything and look at it as a spiritual aspect, because when we actually look at the seven branches of science, just for example, they correlate with spirituality. So,
Wait. I think in the Divine Comedy there are seven circles in Inferno, seven trials in Purgatorium, and I think the seven heavens in Paradiso.
I think you are correct. It's been a while since I read it. See, now I'm going to have to go pull it off my bookshelf.
And speaking of that, now if I have anybody try to be all like Abrahamics trying to be like, well, astrology is demonized. Actually, technically, Dante cited the astrology, so yeah, about that. Wah, wah, wah.
Yes. Oh, we did not list the body systems, but yes, there are seven body systems, because I did, when I switched from English literature, I went into science. So I know. Yeah. That's a big switch, but yes. And yes, Sam, the seven main chakras, because there are 21 chakras, but there are the seven main ones that are on our body, because we have a bunch that are way above us and a bunch that are below us. Seven gifts of the Holy Spirit. There we go. I just found that seven is said to be the magic number of our memory. Ooh. Yes, the seventh sense, which many of us here in the community have. Or the sixth sense. Well, yes, the sixth and the seventh sense.
And there's a divisional chart called the Septamsa chart, which is the D7, which is the results of unionship or collaboration with another. It's when you take the regular D1 birth chart and then you cut it into 7 pieces.
And Robert's got 7 archangels.
And that would be also then the seven are, I don't know if that would be making, I think it'd be the 7 kings of the I don't even like saying hell because it feels weird. The 7 of the underworld of Inferno.
Yes. 7 goddesses to light the Olympic flame.
Oh,
Yes. 7 song by Prince.
All 7 watching fall. I forgot the words. I can't sing it right now. All 7 are gonna hatch and fall.
wow.
Yes. Welcome to our singing program too, because we've sung quite a few songs tonight. Stars in the Big Dipper. Oh, I didn't even realize that's how many were in the Big Dipper. I just always know to look for it. 777 is the jackpot. And yeah, you know what? If you've got a lottery ticket, I would say pick 7 as your Powerball this week. I'm just saying.
And funny enough, 777 is also, it adds up to 21. Blackjack.
There we go. Yep.
Planned. All planned.
Yep. 7 wonders of the world. Yes. Yes. All right. Mind blowing.
And wait. And also, Sadasati, which is known as the 7 years of Saturn, which is when you have Saturn go into the house before the moon, in the same house as the moon, and then after the moon. Even though technically it's about 7.5, but it's still considered 7.
Yep. Oh, we've got atoms found in a nitron. An atom. Wait, atoms found in a nitron. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I was reading that. Yep. 7 stages of spiritual alchemy. Yep, we did talk about that briefly. So, Azrael, anything you want to add?
I was adding a lot. I don't know. As far as well, 7 is a magic number. As matter, in so many different aspects. Because we got that 7, 11, 21, and the 7. It's in that. So I don't know what the 11 and the other ones, but 7 is a magic number. When you look about it.
Yes, and 7 years of bad luck after breaking a mirror. So. And there's a question for you, Azrael. Just curious, did you create astrology? Interesting, caught my ear misheard. I think it was Bren talked about that.
Yeah, I think Brand does. I don't. But you know what? The world, supposedly the earth was created in 7 days.
That's right. Yes, the 7-day creation. Lots of, just so many 7s. So, okay. As we take all of these different 7s, and there have been so many. Oh, there we go. Words you can't say on TV. 7. I don't know. I think that's starting to change, but yes. As we take these 7s, even the ones not discussed in the book, can we use these to illuminate our spiritual growth?
Yes. Because the number
Wait,
7,
yes, definite.
The number 7 is associated with the south node of the moon, K2. And K2 is detached from anything on the physical. K2 is like meh with anything and everything because it wants to let go of everything and go within. And K2 is the representation of a monk that wants to detach from everything that can be seen, taste, heard, but it can be felt because K2 has the hands and whatnot. But K2 doesn't want to have anything to do with the physical. It just wants to let go and try to go within itself to better understand itself. So, and also K2 is that spirituality. That's not being influenced by outside bias.
All right, we've got, uniform branches of the military. Okay. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's still. Do we? Well, yeah, but he wanted to try to attempt it in 7. We still have 7 there. However we want to look at it. Oh, there's 7 hills in Rome. How cool. Very, very cool. But yes, yes, I do agree that it does, like, it is our spiritual growth as we look at any of them. Any of this, we can actually look at the spiritual aspect. Even like Azrael, I loved your live the other night when you actually took the book Alice in Wonderland and we looked at the spiritual aspects of it. Because you can take almost any book and find the spirituality in it, I think.
Yes. Well, definitely we can say that the Mad Hatter is, and also the March Hare. Well, there you go. There's your Aquarius. It's like, the heck are those two doing? Ah, very, very birthday too. Hey, just half a cup if you don't mind. Yep.
Oh, yes. The intense amount of spirituality, because it actually got me like thinking. So, oh, astronauts on the Challenger disaster. Ooh, yeah, sad one, but yes, there were 7. So, all right, we're gonna move away from that. That was like awesome. We have so much like really good. Okay, so in the anatomy of spirit, yes, this is a fun live. Thank you, Brenda. So the next question I have is, what role does self-love play in spiritual and physical health? So Carolyn teaches in this book that self-love is the foundation for emotional health and overall well-being, that individuals nurture affectionate self-relationships, they develop the capacity to love and harmonize with others, directly influencing their physical health and resilience against illnesses. And that's what's really important, is because this whole book is, if you are spiritually healthy, you're going to be healthy mentally and physically. So, Brent, do you want to go first? What role does self-love play in spiritual and physical health? And let's add in the health of the body, mind, and spirit.
Well, I would have to say, just like with, I call it the art of bamboozling. When there's something that is, if there's like a belief system that says, oh, I'm not worthy enough, well, says who? And ultimately, if you don't think you're worthy for it, no. Yeah, I can't accept that. And the same thing goes for anything outside of you that's trying to afflict you with it. You don't have to accept any thought or any input from anybody else, but you have to make that choice and decision to make that choice to allow something to be intaken or something to be, nope, get it away. Nope, I can't accept that. You can keep it. And that is the highest form of self-love. If something is going to inhibit you, why take it in and betray yourself? Instead, just say, nope, you can keep it. I can't accept it. Because you don't have to accept anything. Even if it's like the most positive thing ever, you don't have to accept it.
Yes.
Because you have that ultimate final say.
Very true. I like this comment I'm going to share with Robert, and I actually teach this a lot. Embrace your shadow as well as your light. Yes, we do need to embrace it. And a lot of times, unfortunately, some of the stuff we put in our shadow self is actually really good, positive stuff that society was like, or like, maybe your family culture or maybe your religious upbringing maybe told you, no, you can't do that. A lot of our authentic self is hidden in the shadow.
That's definitely true. Definitely true. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, I shouldn't? Good. Now watch this. Why did you just do that? Oh, you want an instant replay? Yeah. Don't worry about yourself.
All right, Azrael, we're going to let you pipe in. What role does self-love play in the body, mind, and spirit?
The most important things, because we have to love ourselves, and every impurity, every flaw, everything that we feel others will look at as a flaw, we just have to accept it. And it's our authentic self is what represents who we are as the individual. That's how we find inner peace. We love ourselves. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's us. And it's the most important thing, because self love becomes the base. As you mentioned earlier, prior to this, the top of the pyramid, which is the apex, is the top of it. And that's part of spiritual alchemy. We have to start with the foundation, and the foundation is strong. And accepting who we are is the foundation of how we create the character. And I'm not saying the character as a movie character, but the individual that we are. So self-love is the foundation, the solid ground in order to construct who we are. It's where we can plant our feet and make every action necessary, because we're not going to sink in sand, because we are on solid foundation. That means, we are happy with ourselves, and we know that every action that we do, we can actually feel comfortable about it. It gives us self empowerment. And that is by embracing who we are, loving ourselves. Because you know what? We all have made the mistake of finding that love outside of us. And we found out that finding the love outside of us is only creating a codependent, when in actuality, when we love ourselves, we don't need to rely on nobody else, because you know what? We are the co-creators. We are the ones in control. And with that said, we're able to have discernment and know that, you know what? Boundaries need to be set. And, without self-love, you won't set up those boundaries. And it's deep. It's the foundation. And the best way, like I said, I can describe it as being that foundation for us, that first level. That first level is self-love, because we can't construct anything else without that solid foundation.
Yes, that's very, very true. I do love that. I want to also, Soul's Journey said, we always love ourself. It's whether we recognize the actions of love for self, and we do it sorry, I just lost it, unconsciously, or out of natural habit or involuntary survival. Beautiful comment there. Yeah, and it's something that's not taught. So it is really deep in our subconscious, and it's a matter of pulling it out and recognizing it. And when you recognize it, then you're really full of self-love and healing. And Robert, I love this: nurturing your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual being. Yes, we do have to do that. That's really important. I hope I didn't miss any other. And have a strong sense of affection and respect for oneself, honoring your needs, setting boundaries, and treating yourself with kindness. It is so important. I think boundaries sometimes can be very easily violated. Like, for example, I'm going to use myself. I can use myself. It's all good. So when I was a kid, there were several times in my life when I actually said to my parents that I needed something. And one of the most profound times, I was 12, and I really was not getting along with my mom. And it happens. I mean, everybody has a point in their time when they're a tween or a teenager. They don't get along either with both parents or one parent. I begged them to let me spend the summer with my grandparents, because I knew I needed that break. And they were like, no. So I was like grounded the entire summer. Couldn't even see my grandparents that summer. But it had a profound impact on me, because I wasn't being heard and my boundaries were constantly violated. And I wasn't a bad kid. It wasn't like I went and did something super bad. I just had extremely religiously strict parents. But that made an impact on me setting boundaries, because I realized, like, it was like, well, you don't have any boundaries. And so just because my parents didn't allow me to have boundaries, I just was kind of like, oh, no one will let me have boundaries. So if you've been in that same situation, it's hard to actually learn to set your boundaries, because people will walk all over you and you're going to be a doormat. But you can stop being a doormat. So yes, love yourself and set those boundaries. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that comment, Robert, because I know I've ran into people when I've told that story where they're like, thank you, I had something similar happen. And that's why I know I don't set boundaries. Bren or Azrael, any comments on that?
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, boy. The amount of... If I could have $1 every time when somebody overstepped mine, I would be a billionaire. But one of the things that I'm going to just put in here is that when somebody does overstep, address it right then and there, and be relentless in making it known that, hey, don't do that. And if they hissy fit, it don't matter who it is, don't matter how old they are, don't matter nothing. If they cross it, tell them, don't do that. Well, I'm your parent, I don't give a damn. You're not gonna do that again, got it? You're gonna talk to me like that? Damn right. You respect me, you give respect back.
Yes. And actually, amazingly enough, my kids don't realize that negative experience for me. When they said, I can't be with you right now, Mom, can I spend the night at my friend's house? I was like, okay. Because I knew they were telling me what they needed. And it reminded me of, when I need this. But yes, Bren, we do. Oh my gosh, how many times people would say, oh, can you help with this? Can you help with that? And I felt like I was just giving. And I love to give, but we have to have a boundary for it. We can't give all the time and not give to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Especially too, because I've even learned that lesson the hard way, being a constant giver. And then when I was in a position of great need, those same people that I gave to, either did not want to give or found some reason to not return the favor. So it's like, okay. And boy, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand of circumstances, but if then the audacity to come back and ask for something again, really? No.
It's amazing how often that happens.
Yeah.
Yes, and Jackie, breaking the cycles. We learn that as we become spiritually healthy. I think that's where that comes in. Azrael, did you want to add anything here?
I'm fine. I think Brent did very good. He did also on that one.
Yes, we have great. I want to just shout out, if you're not following Bren or Azrael or myself, please feel free to follow us. And a huge shout out to everybody in the comments. We've had some beautiful comments. I'm trying to catch them all because there are some really great ones tonight. This has been a fabulous live. I want to thank everybody for the hearts and the gifts, for myself and everybody here on panel. All right. I'm going to jump to the next question. So this can be a hard one. When I was actually in a religion, I could not get this concept, but I think it's because spiritually I wasn't where I needed to be. Now I understand it. So I know you're all like, ooh, what is it? Drum roll. Oh, wait, you know what? Why am I doing it that way? Here, hang on. Drum roll. All right. How does the practice of forgiveness contribute to spiritual healing? So the book, Carolyn Miss says, forgiveness is crucial for emotional and spiritual health. Again, body, mind, spirit, we're adding that there. It liberates individuals from the toxicity of resentment and negativity. This release fosters healing by allowing both spirit, body, and mind to thrive. Unaddressed grievances can manifest as physical ailments. So here we go. Here's our question. Bren, do you want to go first? How does the practice of forgiveness contribute to spiritual healing?
Now, this is going to go against the grain. I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in the cogwheels.
Go for it.
Now, forgiveness. It can be a double-edged sword. It could be, on one side, forgiving somebody for their actions. But at the same time, it can also not be authentic in you feeling what needs to be felt and downplaying it. It's not bad or good, but as long as the awareness of experiencing and getting those emotions out, then allowing the forgiveness to come. Because if you try to forgive, but then don't address those feelings, it's going to come back around and push it back down. So, forgiveness, yes. But, and then here's another perspective I'm going to sprinkle in. Because in my opinion, Forgiveness needs to have the effort to back it up, because you can forgive somebody sincerely, then they do the same harm or even worse again. So so for one's preservation, should one be given that opportunity for forgiveness if they're not showing that they have learned from that mistake? And then self-preservation has to be exerted and remove that individual that's causing that harm in the first place. Whoopsies happen, yes, but the same repeated whoopsie, but that's my take.
Beautiful. We've had a lot of really great comments. Forgiveness can strengthen relationships by fostering empathy, understanding, and compassion. And let's see, I know there was another one. Oh, forgiveness allows individuals to move beyond hurt and resentment. And I saw, oh, here we go. By forgiveness, it actually heals your mind and soul. All right. Welcome, Soul's Journey. Glad you came up.
Thank you. I just because it was a lot to type in the comments about forgiveness. And this is like kind of like a recent realization for me is forgiveness is more or less for me, because we don't really need to forgive anybody in our life, because that would be us kind of like not accepting them for where they're at. Like if somebody has done something to me, as long as I have the awareness of possibly why they did it, or recognizing that maybe they're just not in a good space, or whatever the case may be, right? It's still their life path that they're doing. So it's what's meant to happen for them in their life, right? So I don't feel like I need to forgive anybody for what they have done. I need to forgive them for my own feelings of being able to let go of whatever it made me feel in that moment. And I've gotten quite a bit of like, oh, no, 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 for my view on this now. But it's, like I said, it's kind of a more recent, I'm diving into it a little bit more. But when we accept people where they're at in this journey and for what path they are on, there's no forgiveness that's needed for them, like, if that makes sense in the way that I explained it, hopefully. Sorry.
It does make sense because, you know, at Soul's Journey, so I grew up in a Christian cult, and you were supposed to forgive. And I'd gone through something absolutely horrific. And Tina, this is like you put, I fear when I forgive, get them getting away with something. So forgiveness, honestly, is more for us than for them. Because if we don't forgive, it is going to fester within us. And I'm saying this because what I went through and what my children went through, because I'm a mama bear, I had so much hate and resentment to the person, and it was a crime. It was a horrific crime committed by my ex-husband. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I start everybody's like, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. I was in a very bad stage of anger and hurt and needed to heal. It wasn't until I learned I needed to forgive myself, because like we hold a lot of guilt. And actually, like when you talk to people who have experienced things, it's not necessarily what was done or what happened. It's the guilt. And it could be survivor guilt or guilt of, why didn't I do this? We need to forgive ourselves. Because if we don't, we're going to keep holding that resentment and that hate inside of us. I don't know if I can even say, like with what had happened, if I've forgiven my ex, but I have forgiven this situation. And that is how I was able to move on.
Yes, that part is like really important. Like when I do like inner child work with people and I tell them like, we're going to go and we're going to like, I forgive you for not having the tools to handle the situation in a better fashion. to where I didn't have to feel this, or I didn't have to carry this around with me for, the rest of my life, and internalize it into being something that it just really wasn't. And it's not forgiving the act, it's not forgiving the person for what they did. It's just saying, like, I'm accepting that you did not know better in that moment than what you did. And that's when you say that, it's really, after it gets said out loud, it's a lot more understandable in that aspect of being able to say, like, I'm not saying that I'm okay with what you did. I'm just saying that I realize you didn't know or have tools to handle it better. You didn't have awareness. You didn't have mindfulness. You didn't have, self-awareness, especially. So I think that's a really important factor.
It is. I love this, Robert. The 4 R's: responsibility, remorse, restoration, and renewal. And this can apply to each of us in our own way, because even if, like, for example, if you are walking down the street and a car veers up and hits you right on the sidewalk, you did not have responsibility in that, but how you react and heal from that is your responsibility. So if you allow the grief, the anger, the resentment, all of that to fester, it's going to be hard. This is where we can come from. But I love this: responsibility, remorse, restoration, and renewal. That's so beautiful. Yeah, we have. It's hard. It is not easy. It's not. Forgiveness is a tough concept. I mean, it really, truly is. Azriel, you're up.
Well, well, you know what? I first want to say that this book needs to be shown again to us. For those that are not aware what we're talking about, this, and of the spirit, what you're discussing. This is a very good book, and a lot of stuff that's been discussed in this book is what we discuss on our panels all the time. I definitely, do agree that forgiveness is the key. And just like the soul's journey stated, it's not the matter of forgiving others of what they've done to us, but us forgiving, ourselves, and actually allowing ourselves to break free from any burdens that we had by not forgiving us. Sometimes we blame ourselves for putting ourselves in positions that we couldn't control, and that creates a lot of trauma within us, and it doesn't help us heal. We talked about self love and how self love help us heal, and forgiveness is one of the steps in actually allowing us to love ourselves. That self love comes with forgiveness, because when we practice forgiveness, it aligns ourselves to our true purpose of who we are as an individual. Forgiving ourselves actually connects us with our higher version. And in the practice of spirituality, and no matter what beliefs we partake in, it enhances our understanding of many things, and how sometimes out of desperation others don't even know how to act, and they might hurt us. And it's not because it was us. It was not never our fault. It was the fault of others. But we need to forgive ourselves, and need to start with that clean slate, so that way we can overcome anything that can create a emotional burden on us, where we're too overwhelmed with negativity. So forgiving ourselves helps us elevate.
It does. And Soul's Journey, I'm going to let you put a beautiful quote in there, and I'm not going to read it because I'm going to let you read it, because I think that's really important.
I was saying that, when we realize that everything in this life happens for us and not to us, that is a huge, I just got full body chills too. That is a huge factor in being able to accept the things that happen. And when I say this, I have people come after me, and I'm just going to say this really quick, and then but people will ask me things about, like, well, what about horrible things that happen, like, to people, like to children, to whatever, right? And I'm not saying, let me just explain, I'm not saying it's okay what happens. However, I'm saying that, let's just say something does happen. Well, now what if when that child is like 19, 20, 21 years old, they decide to become an advocate and use what had happened to speak for children that cannot speak for themselves, or to advocate for children that have had bad things. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not saying it's okay that the bad things in this world happen. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that there is a reason, you know what I mean, that we need to find our strength in something, you know, in situations that are presented to us. We need to find our voice, our courage, our passion, our persistence. And so the things that happen truly do happen for us to be able to grow, and to find ourselves. You know what I mean? And so I just thank you for letting me share that.
Yes, thank you. And actually, I can tell people there are people who have been victims of horrific incidences that are out there advocating for other people that are dealing with those incidences. They may not be the same, but they know what it feels like. And I don't like, so I came from Utah, and there's, oh my gosh, I think it's like 10 or 15 polygamist groups out there. Yeah. And the stuff that those women and children go through is so horrific. It is just absolutely horrible. And there are several wonderful, amazing women who are survivors who are out there fighting. Like they have forgiven themselves, and they are fighting to help others escape. So, you know, that is out there. And this is like, that's one thing we grow from spiritually. Now, I'm going to throw this out there because some of you may be like, well, I'm in a really bad place right now. I can't forgive. I don't get this. It's okay if you're not here yet, because we are all on different paths. And I can look back and go, oh, I get it now. When I first read this book in 2009, honestly, there were concepts and stuff in here that either went over my head, or I was like, F this, and moved on, right? Now I'm looking at it going, I wasn't ready to hear it or read it at the time, but now I understand it. So understand, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, yep, I can hold the book up for you. If you are in a place, and it's Carolyn Miss, so I'll kind of, if you're in a place where some of the stuff we're talking about, you're like, this isn't resonating right now, it's okay. Oh, Fun Bun. Oh, I'm so sorry. I grew up in the Mormon cult, so I understand. I mean, I do, like, there's a lot of overlap with the cultishness, but bless your heart. Like, whew. Yeah, anybody who grew up in a cult, bless your hearts. Seriously, come to me if you just need to like vent. I understand. But yes, if you are not ready yet, it's okay. Like, you'll be ready for it when you're ready. Just know that it's out there, and that this beautiful spiritual community is here. And honestly, a lot of us have gone through something. And so that's what's really cool, is as we go through something, like, I'm learning from people who are ahead of me in their healing and their spiritual practice. And I know people that are behind me are learning from me, and people who are on the same path we're walking, we're on the same step. We're still learning from each other and sharing. And that's what's really important about like these conversations. You don't have to take everything we say for word value. Follow your heart and your instincts. Follow your truth. Follow your authentic self. But there are tools out there, and that's one reason why we're here discussing it. But I'm going to go, because like this is really important, I think. Azrael, anything to add with what I've just said? And then I'll go to Bryn, and then Soul's Journey.
No. You know, I'm listening in, and you know, you're on point.
Awesome. Bryn, anything to add?
The only thing that I will also add is that even if you do not get to that point of forgiveness for whichever event, that is still your right, because that's only a choice for you to make. And only you can know when you're ready for that. If it never happens, so what? But do not go against yourself and do something because somebody else said, oh, forgive, forget. No, do not invalidate yourself, because as soon as you invalidate yourself, you start to silence yourself. Don't ever, I don't care if hanky, panky, spanky, wanky, don't care who. Do not ever silence yourself, because your voice for yourself matters and is the most important.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because I did say that really early on. I know before you joined, Bryn. Make sure you are heard. Be heard. That is like the most important, like anything, be heard. That's how you can help your healing process. There is a comment, forgiveness is no longer an option, but a necessity for healing. I believe that, Robert, but I also believe that it does not necessarily mean that we have to forgive if somebody did something to us directly. I really like how Soul's Journey was talking about that. We need to find the forgiveness within ourselves. But our path may not be that we need to forgive ourselves today. We have to go with our own time and our own healing. It's just like you might watch this now, and then you might be like, you know what? I'm going to go follow Rowan's YouTube channel, and you watch this replay in 5 years, it might sink in, and you might be like, oh my gosh, I missed that. Again, I read this book in 2009. I've read it through. This is my third time. I'm already getting stuff out of it that I'm like, how did I miss this the other 2 times? That was the first question I said. And then I said, wait. I wasn't ready for it when I read it in 2009 and 2019. I'm ready for it in 2025. So also keep that in mind. We have to go with our personal progress in our healing process, because it may not mean that it's going to be today. Might be tomorrow, might be next year, might be in 10 years. Soul's Journey, anything to add with that one?
I would just, the only thing that I want to say is like, there's no one like healing process for everybody. There's no one journey for everybody. Like there's no book that says you have to do this way. This is how it has to go. Otherwise you're not doing it right. You have to do what is for you on your path, and don't compare yourself to where anybody else is, because you're not them. You're never going to be them, and they are never going to be you. You are here for a purpose. Each individual person is here for a purpose. And so your mission, your healing journey, your purpose is different than anybody else in this whole wide world. So just make sure that you're doing things that align with you and your path and your soul and your heart and mind.
That is so beautiful and so true. It really is true. That's be your authentic self and follow what you truly need, because you know what you need. Like Azrael can give us advice. I can give you advice. Brent can give you advice. Soul's Journey can give you advice, but it doesn't mean that's what you need. All right, with that, I'm going to move to the next question. And just, I know we've had a couple new people join since, and my phone is not charging. So I'm going to make this the last question because I'm at 40%. And with how long we talk, I think we'll get through this and I'll have to log, we'll be done. So, oh yeah, I didn't bring my other charger. Darn it. Okay. This is the Anatomy of Spirit, Carol and Miss. Every Sunday here is the live discussion at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you follow my Patreon, which is in the link, I do a deep dive. It starts at the $5 tier level. And when I say deep dive, I mean every page of the book is a deep dive. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You'll get it. So, all right, the last one we're going to do for tonight. What is the significance of living in the present moment according to spiritual teachings? So this is according to Carol and Miss. And she, in summary, she's saying living in the present moment acknowledges eternal aspects of the spirit and enhances our capacity to receive guidance and inspiration. This focus allows one to engage with life fully, preventing the burdens of past experiences from hindering growth. I completely agree with this because when we live in the past, we do hinder our growth. So here's the question. I'll go Azriel, Bren, and Soul's journey. What is the significance of living in the present moment according to spiritual teachings? We do not necessarily have to follow the spiritual teachings from the book because this is a discussion. So Azriel, how does that?
Well, I always talk about that, but I don't want to take anybody's answers away. So I'm going to simplify it. Living in the present moment, it allows us to receive golden eggs. In other words, the present is the place where we gift ourselves. And being right now when we allow ourselves to be in a form of neutrality, because, when we're thinking about the future or thinking about the past, we're not neutral. We're being pro going forward or pro going backwards. So when we are in the present moment, we're able to see all things, where we can resonate with, allowing ourselves to make the right decision that is needed versus jump into conclusions without knowing the facts. So being in the present moment allow us to create what is called the increased awareness, and this increased awareness helps us through our thoughts and our feelings, and it taps into our higher self, and that itself lets us see that we can grow by allowing ourselves to just slow down, and like I said, I simplified it because it's kind of a cheat to me because I talk a lot about the present. So but it is, the present moment. As a matter of fact, you know what, I after everybody's done, maybe no, I left it in the room. I was yesterday morning, I actually wrote down the past, present, and future, and I had a breakdown of how it connects. But the present, I'm going to yield. I talk too much. Let me just shut up. But thank you.
Thank you, Azriel. Bren.
Say the question one more time.
Okay. What is the significance of living in the present moment according to spiritual teaching? And this can be your own personal spiritual.
Well, being in the present moment and not being all the way with the head turned around facing backwards, and then also not having the head being so looking upward that you can't really see where you're going. If anything, the present moment allows you to see, okay, here's what I'm working with. If there's somewhere I want to go, okay, let's work with what I've got around me to get to it. And not go 50 steps ahead that hasn't even happened yet. And also not to have our head turned around facing the wrong way and then moving forward expecting to see where we're going. So it's really having that true present state that you can optimize it to have it work for you and be able to comprehend clearly instead of having yourself be blinded by not looking the right way.
Very beautiful. Thank you, Bren. Soul's journey.
I was just gonna say, like when we live, there's really no other moment to live in but now. Like if we aren't in the now, in the present moment, then we're not living, because like the past is what has happened. Neither one of them can be controlled. Neither one of them can change. What is meant to happen for us is going to happen. So there's really, in my opinion, which has been a hard concept to do, there's really nothing else to do except for just embrace what is now, which is just being, and allowing myself to look at the growth opportunities from every situation that is presented to me in this present moment, so that's, yeah.
Very beautiful. Thank you, Soul. I'm going to read a couple comments here. We have Robert. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is mystery. Today is the gift, and that's why it's called a present. That's beautiful. And Pika, you recognize that you're the gift. And that is so true. We are the gift. Fun Bun. I cheat on myself when I give my conscious to the illusion of time. That is so true. We do have to anxiety is when we are concentrating on the past, and we have to heal that demon to move forward. And that's where forgiveness comes in for ourselves. Just at least a concept that I've learned. And you know what? You can read it in a book, but until you decide to implement it in however you want, then even like as I'm getting, like I got concepts in 2019 from the book and concepts now that I'm like third time. But you know what? Again, we have to be open and ready as we like start to learn. And I love that. Depression is the past, anxiety, and the future living is now. Yes. So I want to thank everybody. And we did really good. So I will have this replay on my YouTube and my Patreon. So please feel free to join my Patreon or my YouTube for the replay, especially if you jumped on at the tail end. Every Sunday is Witchy Book Club. And yes, this book is more spiritual than witchy, and that will happen. I just happen to be a witch. So it's The Anatomy of Spirit by Carolyn Miss. We will be doing chapter 3 next week. So the deep dive will be on Patreon. Wink, wink. I'm going to be going through every page on Patreon. Wink, wink. So please feel free to jump over to Patreon. That is in my bio. I want to personal thank you for all the gifts for me and everybody on the panel. And thank you for all the hearts. We're at 18.6K hearts. Like, that's absolutely awesome. So I'm going to let everybody on panel say goodbye. But before they do, I just want all of you to know I'm so appreciative that you guys were able to join me tonight. And we just lost Bren. So Bren, thank you. Thank you so much. So Azriel, how do you want to say goodbye? And do you want to talk about your live next week?
I don't know yet about next week's live yet. I don't have a title for it, but I might have, but I just want to say, thank you so much for the opportunity to be up here and chime in a little bit on this book. This book is very deep, and I do understand, like you said, you read it a while back and it didn't resonate. And that makes sense. Maybe that is how everything's supposed to work, and it's accepting the simple fact that sometimes patience is the key, and that's why we have to be in the present. And the present is only right now where we know what resonates with us and what is meant for us in right now, this moment. So, as you read that book at that one point, you didn't think about it. You know what? Maybe in 10 years from now or whenever, I'll be ready for this book, because we don't know, and that will keep us guessing. And I definitely appreciate this live. That book, I do have a PDF version of it, but it's not like that book that you have there. So now I'm more eager to get the freaking book in my hands, because there's so much that we talk. I've talked about it. We all talk about it here in this community, but yet it's all in that book itself. And now when we talk about the integrating our perspective with somebody else's perspective and perception and so forth and so forth, it brings us to life, and I think it's meant to be. For me, my own, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, allowing me to be on the panel, and till next time. It's good. It's really good night for me. It's not goodbye. So everybody, you have a good one, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sol, anything you'd like to say to wrap up?
No, I was just gonna say thank you so much for having me up here. And this was cool. I think I'm gonna have to get the book now, because now I'm super interested, and like I'm really not a reader. I don't like to read, but like I'm very interested, and I should have a live schedule coming out in the next week or so finally, because I'm getting settled down in my new path. So yeah, thank you so much for having me though. This was awesome.
Thank you for coming so much. Thank you. I've loved everybody on panel has brought so much wonderful comments and everything. So that's been so great. I'm live Tuesday, Thursday, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Tuesday is Tuesday Tarot, 1-card readings and tips and tricks on tarot. So, and thank you so much for Tina. It looks like Tina sent, Ill Squirrel, thank you for the hands heart. That's beautiful. Thank you. And Tina, I saw you sent stuff too. So thank you so much, everybody. We hit 19K tonight. How wonderful. All right. As I always end my lives, Merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.